This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with guitarist Herman Frank of the German heavy metal act Victory. If I knew absolutely nothing about Victory, how would you describe the band's music to me?
It's kind of like I wouldn't say old school. It's kind of like classic hard rock, classic metal. Some call it classic metal, classic hard rock. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, would best describe all the kind of music. Different influences from the past. I mean, we started Victory, guess, decades ago. So there are influences from the 80s, 90s, from all over the world.
Absolutely, and your influences can be heard on your latest album, Circle of Life. It comes out September 13th through AFM Records. It's the follow-up to your 2021 album, Gods of Tomorrow. When it comes to songwriting for Victory, is this a group effort, or are you the primary songwriter?
As I'm a founder of the band, and this was, as I told, decades ago, songwriting is mostly up to me. Singing wise, melody wise, the singer helps a lot because he's much better singing than me. But I think I give him a lot of ideas and a lot of vocal lines and a lot of lines. When I start composing a song, I already try to look for, or I'm searching for a nice hook or something, or verse or catchy vocals, and then for sure I tell him my ideas. Otherwise, I would throw the song away. It wouldn't be a song to be worth to play to the others.
Why don't we talk a little bit about the songs that you've released ahead of the album? One of the singles you have out now is American Girl. Is there a particular inspiration behind, is there a particular woman this was based on?
Not a particular one, maybe a lot, maybe a couple of them. I guess, yeah, it's a typical rock and roll song. Whenever you got the chance to tour in America, I guess everybody knows what the song's about. And yeah, and Gianni, especially Gianni, he's Italian, he lives in Switzerland, and I guess his biggest dream is to come over once to America and go on tour. So I guess he came up with this American Girl, and it sounded great. So we decided, hey, let's do it. I mean, for sure, we could have done a Japanese Girl, or like Deep Purple did, A Woman in Tokyo or something.
Well, when you play it live, you can just change it to whichever area you're playing live in.
If it fits in a lyric rhythm-wise, yeah. Hello, Finland girl. Hello, Swedish girl. Yeah. Might work.
Another song that you have out is Count on Me. This was your first single that you released back in May. I would assume that you had the bulk of this album finished in May, so it must be a little bit anxious waiting for the album to come out when you started promoting it way back in May.
You have to promote as soon as possible. These days, a record company wants to promote the album maybe half a year, best a year before release, and I said no way. I'm old school, and I don't train an old dog. So we finished, guess, in end of April mixing, and then I said to them, okay, I could give you a little impression of how the recordings had been in the studio or something like that. I always wanted to have a kind of like video from the recording session, from the situation, and it turned out pretty well. And for me, it's the best video I've done for decades. Because we really got fun, just don't take it too serious and stuff like that. And you see that the people and the band got a lot of fun, a lot of excitement in the studio. And for me, it's the video for this album. But as you said, we had to promote the album as early as we had finished them.
Now, I noticed in the video, you're playing a little guitar on your lap, a little bit like Jeff Healey.
That's the way I do record. Nah.
Oh, really? All right, that's something new. And you definitely look like you're having a great time in the studio. In fact,
yeah, sure.
In fact, you
Everybody
actually
was dancing, and we recorded pretty fast these days. We spent 10 days for recordings, but I finished my guitars before we entered the studio. Otherwise, we would stick in the studio forever. So I finished all my guitars before we entered the real studio in my little studio. So people know, okay, these are the guidelines and these are the guide tracks. So please follow.
It's kind of unusual to actually go in the studio and record an album these days. Normally, everybody's doing it at home.
Yeah. If you have the chance to record in the studio, go for it. Rather, the record company believes in this in this band. So I said, I go in the real studio like the old days, or I would stop to record albums. If I have to do it in my living room, it would sound like recorded in a living room. The only chance to get this raw and this excitement sound and kind of like live sound, you have to go for a real studio. Otherwise, for me, it wouldn't work. I wouldn't like to do. That's the reason why the most guitars I'm using in this album, I kept them from the demo guitars, because in this moment you have the fresh mood. You know, you record the song the first time, and you involve the song, and you just come up with an idea with a riff, and it sounds more not aggressive but more fresh, more excited. And this, if you want to reproduce these things, they always sound very flat in my mind. So go like this in recording. And if there's a little mistake, hey, who cares? But nobody noticed it. Hey, I noticed it. I was playing an F sharp over D, you know, or something like that in the mixing situation. And then I said, oh yeah, nobody will listen to this. And it's actually true.
That is true.
Police didn't ring the bell, and the police didn't show up. So what?
Nobody cares about a little mistake, especially if they're non-musicians. They're not even going to notice.
I think that's the salt and pepper in music, just to slide a little bit around the correctness, lose the correctness, and it becomes music.
There you go. You got this album cover for the new album, Circle of Life. It's got a lot going on in it. I feel like there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of Easter eggs going on in there. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the cover artist that created it and kind of the story the album cover is telling?
I got the idea of this cover when my mother-in-law is a great painter, well known over Europe, and she got this circle with his numbers. She mostly invited this in a round circle, something like that. I don't know the exact story. And then I always got in mind, Circle of Life, Circle of Life, Circle of Life would be a great story for every musician to record an album and call it Circle of Life. It described my life exactly. And so I asked her, do you mind me using this idea, but change it a little bit? And she said, oh, I'm very pleased. She's 90 now. And she said, oh, for a rock album. Oh, yeah. But I want to have an album, a CD, a T-shirt, and an LP. And I said, no problem at all. Just give me the idea. And yeah, sure. I changed the cover in the style of, you know, rock or metal or something. And the story is very simple. You start with a 0 when you're born. Then you add something with the first guitar or your first band. You quit the band, you go for another band, you blah, blah, like this. Somebody leaves the band, you go into a band split up, bus breaks down, it's -1, stuff like that. The most important thing is before you die, they have to stand the 1. Because when you die, it's a 0 again. That's the circle of life. And I guess for every person in life, you can tell the story. If you have a life, life is +1, divide 1, -1, add 1, something like that.
Victory just finished up a run of festival dates throughout the summer. How did those go for you guys?
Pretty well. Awesome. The band is now together, or the members of the band are now together as a band since 4 years. And after Corona, we got finally the chance to play out live a lot. As everybody, and it shows that the band is growing together. Everybody knows what the other is. How is he acting on stage, and how is he performing? You know what I'm expecting from people, what the singer is expecting from the drummer, and stuff like that. And so it's a very the line goes up and up and up. And now we go on tour with this album. It's 12 days, I guess, in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And in the end of January 25, we do a double headline show with Gravedigger, also all over Europe, but no US inside.
Too expensive?
No.
Too expensive?
Yeah, I would love to. I've been there a couple of times in the States, but these days, yep. Future is wide open, let's put it this way.
We can always get you on like one of those cruises that come through American territories, right?
Yeah, we had been on a cruise in January, February this year. It was the 70,000 tons of metal. But I guess this was not exact the US territory. We landed in Florida, and the ship left in Florida and went to the Caribbean and then back to Florida for 5 days. So at least, we took one step to the US.
Good enough.
Yeah, there was a nice Mexican restaurant, and we did love it. Florida is a nice town.
I would imagine that being a traveling musician, wherever you go, I mean, you kind of take in the sights and the sounds of the areas, especially places you haven't been to before.
I'm still excited to visit a couple of countries. I mean, I hit a lot of countries, you know, and but normally there's not that enough time to sneak out or something. Once in a while, you got the chance to sneak out and visit something, or even by nighttime, if you have a day off, everybody's sneaking out for the rainbow if you're in Los Angeles, for sure. But touring is not that easy that everybody thinks of. It's a lot of traveling. You just arrive in time, sound check, go. Then back to the nightliner, next town, something like that. I prefer to travel countries by my own, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Last year I did a 3-month, what is it? How do you call it? Traveling? Holiday?
Sure.
Yeah, I sat down, I jumped in my car and started and drove 3 months around across Europe, France, Europe. Yeah, was fantastic. You never know where you end the day. Just call Airbnb, some motel or something. Great, just great.
That sounds like a plan. I think I might do that here in the US. Start here.
You should do once in your life.
I always wanted to travel Route 66 from the East Coast to the West Coast, but I hear it's broken up.
I'm planning to visit. I've never saw the Rockies.
Me either.
Well, see.
I hear they're great.
I will go there next year, I guess.
So you mentioned you're going to be touring with Gravedigger next year.
Yeah.
They're celebrating 45 years. Have you ever toured with Gravedigger in the past?
No, we did a couple of festivals, maybe 3 or 4. And I think it fits very well. It's kind of like different music, but not that different. They're using guitars too, electric ones. So they also hit on the drums, and somebody's screaming his ass off.
Well, their lyrics are like a history lesson, I think.
Yeah.
They tell you about all these great battles throughout the years and stuff like that.
I guess we will have a lot of fun, you know. We will see. I'm looking forward to this tour.
You're actually going to be celebrating 40 years of victory next year as well. The debut album you didn't appear on, but that came out 50 years ago in 1985.
Wow.
Victory sounded a lot different back then. It was more of a blues-based band, in my opinion. You came on for Don't Get Mad, Get Even. How did you get the gig in Victory back then?
I was not an Accept anymore, and I was doing a German band, Sinner, and Sinner was based in Stuttgart. Let's say Stuttgart is south in Germany. And Tommy Newton, the other guitar player, John Lockton left, and he is born in the area, or is born in the area of Stuttgart, and he visited me in a pub where he knew that I was in every night these days. So he showed up and said, "Hey, you're Herman Frank?" And said, "Oh yeah, who are you?" Tommy Newton, blah 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 blah. And so they invited me for audition to Hanover. I showed up there, and then I stayed in Hanover since, I guess, decades, 30 years or something like that.
So
it was beginning of this nice little journey.
So if you weren't an original member of Victory and you came on in the second album, when did Victory become your band?
From the second album. Oh, from the second
album. Musically,
I guess the main thing was the Culture Killed the Native album. That was the most successful one, and the Tempest of Gold album. And I wrote in these albums maybe out of 12 songs or 11 songs, 10 songs each album. And so, it was it was never mentioned that it's gonna be in the end my band, you know. When I tried to reunite it, I asked the others, I asked Tommy, but he said, "Hey, I'm more into studio now and producing, and some people getting older than others. I mean, he was over 50, and some people, they just love to sit back in the stool." And the same with the bass player Peter Knorr. Actually, he was the original founder of Victory, and he said, "Hey, I do manage a little bit UFO, and I do manage Uli John Roth. That's enough in my life. I don't need this anymore." So I said, "But I would love to. I'm born as a rock and roller, and I want to, I can't stop, go out and rock and roll." And so I said, "Hey, I do it by myself." And I found Gianni Pontillo, and he's just such a great singer, and said, "Hey, I don't want to miss this chance."
And
fair enough, I guess.
How did you find your singer, your current singer?
I was doing a couple of solo shows with my own band, Herman Frank, and we played a festival down south in Germany, and he was one of the other bands, of the support bands. And I heard this voice and I said, "Wow." Hey, closed my eyes and said, I could imagine he could sing Temples of Gold or the old classic stuff. And I invited him to visit me in Hanover. He was very pleased, and he showed up, and then just great. If you close your eyes and he sings the classics, it sounds like Fernando Garcia or Charlie Huhn, whoever you want to call it. And it worked out well, pretty well. As you can hear on the new album, he's got such a great voice, you know. Very nice attitude, good looking. What else you can look for? Sorry, guys, sorry, Tommy and Peter, you missed a great chance.
So in addition to Victory, you have a couple other projects on the side when Victory isn't rolling. In 2022, you released an album with David Reece called Iron Allies, right over there.
Hey, yeah.
Are you going to be releasing any more Iron Allies music in the future?
We'll see. I'm always working. Hey, I do have my own project, Herman Frank, and I'm writing for other people. So I'm quite sure that Iron Allies will have a second album for sure. We played on a couple of nice festivals. Grasspop is one of the biggest festivals all in Europe. And we had been in Czech and stuff like that, in Switzerland, in Germany. So I guess it was a good start. And I do love David's voice. I really, that's kind of like different, gives a different shape, different style into little rock metal or metal rock. It's not the typical classic metal or rock singer screaming. He's singing. He knows what he knows how to sing, and I do love his lyrics. So yeah, for sure. I guess maybe after the tour in September. Now we start end of September for these 14 days, and after this tour, I do have a break for 3 months. Mostly 3 months. What else should I do? I guess I start writing music.
Well, you mentioned your solo work as well under your name, Herman Frank. Your last album was Two for a Lie back in 2021. It's been a while. Are you working on solo material?
Not yet, but I'm forming right now a band because, as you mentioned, a couple of what is it? If you're 40 years something, whatever, how you call it.
Anniversary.
And there are already 5 or 6 festivals booked for next year, 25. And I will perform, I would call it, the promoter said, call it Herman Frank Legacy. I said, okay, fine. Why not? It sounds better than 40 plus. And I will perform out of every band at least one song. I started to call them to ask them. I would love to perform two songs each band. They said festivals are not booking shows for 3.5 hours. I said yeah, but so I have to cut it down on a couple of, and so it will end. We will headlining one festival. The next day is Phil Campbell and the Bastards headlining. The other day I'm headlining, and so the most they might give me are 90 minutes, So I have to think about which songs I will do. But I will start from the early days for sure. And then from Hazard, from Sinner, from Moondog, from Herman Frank, from Iron Elders, from Victory, and anything you can think of. And I will have 2 lead singers and 1 female singer. So, there are already plans for 25.
That is funny that you said that this Herman Frank legacy was happening, because my last question was, have you ever considered doing shows where you played songs from all the bands you've been in? Because as I was looking through your discography, I'm like, geez, this could be a really cool show if he put it all together. And I had no idea you're doing this in 2025.
Some promoters came up since I'm with Victor in the road, and they asked, hey, why don't you come up with this idea? I said, yeah, it's a great idea. The thing is, I have to, yeah, why not? For me, it's easier. I don't have to learn new songs. I just play the old song. I still love them, and I could choose songs I really love. I really want to like to perform. There might be a couple of songs I've never performed before, and I would love to perform. And so if I have 2 singers and a female singer, that gives me a chance to perform a lot of songs. What will be? I guess it will be nice. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this.
As a heavy metal fan, I'd say it's something to look forward to, for sure.
Yeah, the big problem is, or the big question is, which songs you're choosing. There's some festivals they only give you 60 minutes. Which one? Which one I have to sort out? I can't tell you right now.
Well, you got some time.
Yeah.
Well, Herman, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new Victory album is Circle of Life. Comes out September 13th through AFM Records. Fantastic album. I wish you the best of luck with it, and thanks for speaking to KNAC.com about it today.
Thank you so much. Guys, listen to KNAC. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.